Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll talk about the importance of after-school programs in overall education, and we'll hear about the variety of ways robotics are being used in physical therapy. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simon. State Senator Kelly Ward says she's considering taking on John McCain for the U.S. Senate next year. KPNX-TV reports that Ward, a Lake Havasu Republican, says she'd bring a Tea Party base in a run against McCain, who has been at odds with that wing of the party. McCain is expected to formally announce his re-election bid in a few months. Tonight's edition of Arizona Education looks at the impact of after-school programming on school attendance, academic achievement, and the likelihood of graduation. Arizona is ranked in the top 10 of the After School Alliance, a national nonprofit that promotes quality after-school programs. The annual study finds that most Arizona parents are satisfied with the quality and variety of Arizona after-school activities. We'll discuss the importance of after-school programs in a moment, but first, producer Christina Estes takes us to the city of Tempe's Kids Zone enrichment program.
When the school day ends at Wagoner Elementary, the learning doesn't stop.
How many of you guys think that you have a really big lung capacity, that you could blow this whole thing up in one breath?
In the after-school world, we've started to use the term out-of-school time because we're available during breaks, summers, before and after school. Anytime when school's not in session, we're usually running a program.
Jeremy King helps oversee Kids Zone programs at 17 schools in the Kyrene and Tempe districts.
We partner with the school and support the district's goals so that we're meeting things like educational goals with our homework club. We get to do a lot of partnering with what they're doing during the school day and actually do some of those hands-on activities that they don't have the time for during the school day.
Blow really hard into the wind bag and it will suck all of the air in. Are you guys ready? Whoa! One more.
One of the nice parts about our program in particular is they come right from the classroom to our program, and we're able to keep them safe. No buses to travel anywhere.
I think it provides like kind of a nice transition thing between the school day and the academic part of their day and coming home. They're able to kind of ease in to the evening a little bit better. They're a little more relaxed.
Jason Hill's son and daughter have been attending Kids Zone for a couple years.
I think it's helpful for sure. It allows them an opportunity to see some of the kids that they are taking classes with but don't always get to socialize with. They form bonds in their classrooms, and then they're able to kind of play out those bonds in a different way after school, as opposed to just being a classmate. They're now their playmates, their friends.
We try and infuse excitement into every day because our goal is to make sure that kids do not want to leave our program.
That looks really cool. What is it?
I kind of make it a gold star of a day if a kid is begging his parent at the parent table not to go home that day because they don't want to miss something that we have going on.
Red onions, ding, 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 ding.
While the staff at this school cares for about 130 kids,
If you want all of it, put all of it. If you only want a little, put a little.
the Kids Zone program serves about 2,000 every year.
Mixing.
And I can't tell you the number of kids who come back into our programs and volunteer or end up working for us because they had such an amazing experience in our program that they wanted to come back and do the same type of thing for other kids.
The Kids Zone experience will be on display at the City of Tempe's annual Play Day. The free event will feature classes and activities at Kiwanis Park on February 28th. Joining us now to talk about after-school programs is Melanie McClintock, Executive Director of the Arizona Center for After-School Excellence, and Chad Geston, former principal at Camelback High School, where he integrated after-school activities that produced encouraging results. He's now Director of School Leadership for the Phoenix Union High School District. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What qualifies as an after-school program?
Well, as was mentioned in the video, we are now substituting out of school time. Children are only in the classroom 6 hours a day, 180 days a year. We're trying to get parents in the community to look at what is the child doing before school, after school, weekends, during summer break, during fall break, and then over that very long summer vacation when there's such documented learning loss.
So compare an after-school program with an in-school program.
Well, a couple of things. One, after-school program really allows you to focus on the interests of kids. Often kids come to school, take a math class, a science class, an English class, and that may not be what they're passionate about at the time. But put kids in a robotics program, a theater program, get kids engaged in clubs and sports, that's often what drives kids to school.
And as far as a typical after-school program, the things you were listing there, is that what you see?
It can range from broadcast journalism, where students at Camelback High School, for example, create a weekly video to be broadcast across the school. Football programs, theater programs, art classes, poetry, runs the gamut.
Are there standards in place for these programs?
Yes, Arizona developed its own Arizona quality standards for out-of-school time programs 18 months ago. Those standards have now been adopted by 550 out-of-school time programs statewide, and we're still welcoming more programs using the standards for continuous quality improvement.
And what we saw with the Kids Zone story there, that's a pretty typical after-school program, I would think, correct?
They are known for one of the better programs, and they adopted the standards early on. They've recently used our quality self-assessment tool to measure their quality, and now they're developing a plan to continue to raise that program to even higher levels of quality.
Is there such a thing as a low-quality after-school program? And if so, what would it be?
I think there might be, but let me tell you our perspective, which is let's do all we can, especially at the middle school and high school level, to keep kids engaged after school, before school, and on weekends. We know the vast majority of teenage arrests occur between 3 and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And so keeping kids on campus engaged, for us, it was also about access. Quality is important, but it's also about access to after-school programming.
So maybe a low-quality program would be something that just simply doesn't interest the kids.
Yeah, or it could be just about engaging kids after school in more broad topics, but not specifically into a skill set, arts, sports that might drive them.
Yeah, I ask you about this because obviously it sounds like a really good thing, but you got to make sure the good thing is a good thing.
Well, as Chad had said earlier, these have to be programs that cater to the interests of the children. The school day is dictated to them. After school should not be dictated. And so we talk about a quality program is all about youth, voice, and choice. That we listen to what they want and they have their choice of what they're going to engage in.
And as far as the impact on, let's start with school attendance. What are you seeing out there?
Oh, I mean, it's tremendous. The data shows that for kids who participate in after-school programs that, they have regular attendance in school, and sometimes they come to school because they just want to go to the after-school program.
Yeah, you seen the same, you see the same thing.
Right, let's reflect upon when we went to high school. We didn't show up excited, most likely to go to an English class, but we got excited about the sports that we were engaged in, the theater program, the band that I had participated in, and that's what drives kids to school. And that gets them there, and then once they're in the seats, it's our job to educate them.
Okay, and if it is your job to educate them, as far as after-school programs, what kind of results, what kind of impact are you seeing with achievement?
Yeah, so you could take a look at a school like Camelback High School, for example, that has seen drastic increases in attendance, had a dropout rate go from roughly 6% to below 2% over a 5-year period. But then you also see test scores increase, you see graduation rate increase. So there's a direct correlation between connecting kids with after-school time and their academics.
That graduation is very important, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And where we talk about the 3 R's in the classroom, we talk about the 2 R's after school. And the 2 R's are relevancy and resiliency, that we make relevant the concepts that are taught in the classroom because of the nature of the hands-on projects the kids work on after school. And resiliency because the classroom can be a harsh place when you're graded A, B, C, D, but it's okay to fail in an after-school program. It's okay to have a second chance and redesign your rocket ship or your race car. It's all about knowing you have another chance and you pick yourself up and you do it again and you do better the second time.
And that does make a difference in achievement and in graduation, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and part of what it does is it connects kids to adults who have similar passions and similar interests. And you look at all the research around the country where kids who are connected to a caring adult, especially in urban America, who don't oftentimes have that at home, that's that caring adult, not just the club or the sport or the activity after school, but someone who they look forward to seeing every day in school.
Which age groups show the best results for after-school programs?
Well, the research shows across the board there's kind of a misnomer that after-school programs are for elementary school students, and what we've been finding is that that is not the case. And kids in high school are looking, I would argue, having been an elementary school principal, middle school principal, and a high school principal, that high school kids are looking for after-school programs at the same rate as elementary school kids.
You agree with that?
Oh, there's a misbelief that kids age out, so you get to be in 6th grade and you think you know it all, and you tell your mom you want to come home and you'll be safe at home hanging out with your friends. That's a big fallacy, and so they need them more in those troubled transition years of junior high, and then they need them more in high school because it really does open up their opportunities for career and college majors.
They need those after-school programs more. Is it harder to attract them in those later ages?
Not when you, again, have youth voice and choice. Chad, you expanded the number of options to your students.
Yeah, at Camelback we made a requirement a few years ago that every kid has to join a club or a sport after school. It's a mandate. And then told the kids, and if we don't have the club or sport that you want, then let us know and we'll create it for you. And so I've expanded clubs to have a sand volleyball club. We built a sand volleyball court on campus, and an open weight room, and at a weight room club. Whatever it took to keep kids after school, you have to meet their interests, and when you do that, they stay.
Same thing with students at the greatest risk. I mean, some of these kids out there,
Even more so. Even more so. If you engage kids in activities that they don't otherwise have access to, a lot of these kids aren't going to go home and play on a computer. They may not have one at home. But if you open up your computer lab after school in a gaming club or a coding club, it is very easy to attract kids, especially those who are under-resourced.
Arizona ranked among the best in program support, ranked among the best in parent satisfaction. What is Arizona doing right?
I think we're getting the message out. I think providers are tapping into the needs of children and serving the needs of children. And so it really is that cafeteria approach, so children can be exposed to activities they may not know anything about. They then, in the course of that, find what they're passionate about, and we give them an opportunity to run with their passion.
As far as, again, what Arizona's doing right, what are we doing right? What can be improved?
I think we need to continue to make sure that we have the funding and the structure around after-school programming, whether that's community support. We as Phoenix Union High School District get worried about things like Senate Bill 1371, they're going to get rid of DSEG, and that will decimate programs. So I think not just improve upon, but that we support these programs, because the learning doesn't just take place in the first 6 hours.
And real quickly, give us an overview, a framework of how these programs are funded.
So from various different resources. So some school districts go out for an override and get funds for after-school programs. Some of it's through federal dollars, Title I. Some of it's through private grants like 21st Century Learning Communities. Some of it is just volunteer, and teachers know that we have to connect kids after school to make sure they focus during school.
Please.
According to the Arizona survey, 34% of parents want their children in a program that aren't there now, and they cite both geographic barriers and financial barriers. Some of these programs have a cost attached, and we have to be careful that we don't price out the very families where the children will benefit the most.
Last question. We hear a lot about accountability in education, a lot about accountability. What kind of accountability for after-school programs?
That is taking off with gangbusters. We have the new Arizona Quality Standards, but just in December we rolled out a new quality assessment tool, and so a program can literally use this tool to measure their own quality, come up with their own continuous improvement plan. And so we encourage the funders who are backing these programs to use these tools to make sure that they are funding and they are expecting quality in what they are funding.
Agree with that?
Absolutely. And for us, it's also looking at individual kids who may not have made it to that graduation stage, and to do the post-graduation interview. What was it that kept you in schools? And we were able to find out that it was the clubs, the sports, the after-school activities that really engaged our kids.
Quantify it somehow. All right, very good. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
In tonight's look at Arizona technology and innovation, experts, students, and faculty will meet for 2 days of workshops at ASU's Tempe campus to discuss the use of robotics technology to improve physical rehabilitation treatment. Here to discuss the use of robotics in physical therapy is Bradley Greger, an associate professor at ASU School of Biological and Health Systems Engineering, and Thomas Sugar, a professor at ASU's Ira A. Fulton Schools of Engineering. Good to have you both here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Define terms here. Robotics. What are we talking about?
Robotics are machines that move and kind of act like humans, or can be used to automate and accentuate human movement. We're mostly using them to kind of aid movement or restore movement for people who've lost motor function. And in my case in particular, we're using them to even replace limbs. Or people who've lost a limb will build a robotic arm then to replace the limb they've lost.
So basically robotics is something that is machine-ish?
It's machine-ish, but it allows you to augment or assist people. So we're working in the area of prosthetic ankles. We're building systems that replace function. So if someone has lost an ankle and a foot, we build a robotic ankle that allows them to walk, run, jump.
And if, let's say, you do lose an ankle or a foot and you do have these robotics attached, do you control them? Do the robots control? Who controls what?
So the good news is you control the robot.
That is a good news.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be. And so we use sensors on the leg to tell how the robot, how to move.
And I guess using the sensors, that you do have to understand how an ankle works, how
Absolutely.
a foot works.
Well, and this is, Dr. Sugar has done a lot of work on understanding how the mechanics of the ankle work and understanding that. The part that I contribute is we're trying to build it where we can have direct interface to the nervous system, so people just think about moving their foot, and then the nerve that used to control the foot that's now missing will control the robotic limb and provide sensory feedback too.
What kind of hardware are we talking here?
Oh, the robotic itself, Tom can answer that way better than I can. For the neural interface, it's just very compliant tiny wires. They're little tiny micro wires that interface into the nerves. Just to read the signals on the nerves.
Would the wires interface into nerves in the brain? Do they go all the way down to the foot?
It could depend. For people who are completely paralyzed, then the brain, yes, is the way to go. For someone who's just had an amputation or lost a foot or an arm, then you just go into the residual nerve that's in the arm or foot.
It sounds like the human-robot interaction has advanced an awful lot in a very short period of time.
It sure has, and there's people working in the area of peripheral nerves, like Bradley Greger. They're trying to attach them to different types of robots, whether they're prosthetics, or now we're getting into the area of exoskeletons. So I actually build exoskeletons as well to help people move, help people walk, assist gait, and those kind of things.
Well, and let's talk about rehab specifically. Let's say that you don't necessarily need the full 9 yards here, but in terms of maybe pushing patients at a proper speed, I would think a machine would be much better at that.
Well, and certainly you think of people who've had a stroke or something like that, who are just trying to restore and recover function from the stroke with their body pretty much intact. You can build robotics that would help assist the rehabilitation process to do repetitive motions and help just restore their natural function. And that's something that's very much a part of this workshop.
And also part of it is robots don't take over completely. Usually physical therapists with the robot assist the person to allow the training to take over. So most of the time the best robots are ones that work with the therapist, work with the person and assist. And so there's a lot of machines out there that are working in this arena.
But I would imagine if you got a human therapist and you're saying, I think I've had enough now, and the machine goes, not really. The machine's going to kind of push you a little bit, isn't it?
The machine can push you a little bit. Usually what they try to do is they call it assist as needed. So the robot is just supposed to assist only a certain amount and then stop. Because if the robot does everything, then you will not learn.
Right. But in terms of rehab, if the robot does everything to push you towards something, you should be learning there, shouldn't you?
You should. And there's this trade-off of you want the robot to help and get you going. But it's like if you went to work out and the robot did all the work, you're not going to get any stronger.
Right.
It's got to be that balance.
As far as like robotic bodysuits, I was reading about bionic limbs, as you mentioned. I mean, this is really happening
right now.
This is really happening. This wearable robotics is really happening. Next year, ASU is looking to have a robotics week where we'll have wearable robotics for 3 days and then 2 days the rehab robotics.
As long as you've been in this field now, what have been the biggest challenges, and have you managed to overtake those?
I think some of the biggest challenges had been very cost-effective sensors, very small microprocessors, and very good batteries. And those challenges have really come about because of smartphones and the technologies. You've got great batteries, great sensors, really cost-effective devices. So for the last 10 years, what we've seen is you can build small, lightweight robotic systems. And now the challenges are, can you have the robot work with the person and get what we call volitional control? Can the person volitionally tell the robot what to do? And that's what Bradley's been working on with the peripheral nerve interfaces.
That's my challenge, that is trying to understand how, we have to reach into the human nervous system and understand how it functions in order to take the signals out of it to properly control the robot. And as you can imagine, the brain and the nervous system is quite complicated.
I was going to say, what's more complicated, getting the robotics in place or trying to figure out where the nerves are coming and going?
They're both important and both really hard. But we're making progress. It's happening.
And as far as the progress and the impact on quality of life, tell us about that.
Well, there are so many aspects to this. The immediate term things we'll see is people again walking around with limbs that can maybe provide some limited sense of touch. We're also working on restoring vision to people who have lost vision. And there'll be these sorts of devices in the near term, I'd say in the next decade easily. You'll see them pretty commonly that will literally restore lost sensory function and lost motor function.
Well, I would imagine the psychological effects, even just with the rehab element, but as far as what you were talking about as well, the psychological effects on patients and families. Talk to us about that.
So we've seen people really enjoy walking with a powered ankle, because a powered ankle gives you a very good function. They've told us that their back doesn't hurt anymore, that when they walk, it's easier to walk slowly, it's easier to walk longer. So in the prosthetics field, we've seen many people really enjoy these powered ankles.
And again, as far as the psychological aspect, there has to be this is no placebo here. This is really working.
It's amazing. Even in the limited restoration we've seen for like vision and the sensory restoration for people who've lost a limb, it's amazing. They light up. It's profound. You have a patient who lost an arm decades ago control a prosthetic hand for the first time in decades. It's a pretty wonderful thing to see.
Talk about the collaboration now. You got engineering, you got bio, you got medicine somewhere in the middle here. Talk about how all those disciplines are coming together on this, and is that a bit of a challenge?
That always can be a challenge. We've collaborated on a grant area where you have to link engineering with bioengineering, with the medical fields, and
and this is what the workshop is all about,
yes.
Is to bring those sorts of talents and those sorts of expertise together from all over the world to start discussing the ideas where we have to understand the clinical realities, the clinicians have to understand what we can actually do in terms of the engineering, and there has to be the patient feedback. It's a lot of smart people coming together to try and solve a common problem.
And the medical doctors need to know what's out there,
yes.
what's available, right?
Yep. And when they need to guide us on what they can really do. So we have surgeons and all sorts of medical specialties showing up to help.
I asked this, but I want to ask it in a different way. How fast are these advancements coming? And here's a question for you.
Okay.
Are they coming almost can you grab them when they're coming at you this fast?
Well, they're coming fast, but there is also very good regulatory oversight. There's control. There's, we have the FDA who makes sure everything's done very appropriately with great concern to safety. And the physicians, their first mandate is always the care of that patient right in front of them. And so I almost wish it could happen faster, but that always just takes time and resources, and that's one of the challenges.
I was going to say there's powered prosthetic limbs out there being sold now. So they're not just the passive ones. They are commercializing.
It's happening.
It's
Do
happening.
doctors realize this? Are they informed enough?
Yes, there's definitely powered ankles, and that are being sold. And there's a company in town actually that works on powered prosthetics.
Okay, February 13th and 14th at the MU in Tempe. Did I get this correctly?
That's
as far
correct.
As this workshop? And
Yep.
can folks just kind of wander in?
It's free. It's open to the public. Absolutely would welcome people to come.
All right, very good. Good to have you both here. Congratulations on great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tuesday on Arizona Horizon, hear about the upcoming Arizona Sci-Tech Festival, which features science-based events throughout the state, and learn about a program that's using horses to help kids with low self-esteem. That's on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Helios Education Foundation is proud to underwrite Arizona Education, a 12-month series highlighting the issues affecting college and career readiness of our students. Through a decade of strategic partnerships, Helios is working to change lives and strengthen communities through education.